Welcome to the Nicholas Brown Podcast, a podcast talk show about real estate investing, business leadership, and personal development. Each week, we explore current real-life case studies about how to build financial independence through investing in real estate to build your personal portfolio through passive income models, along with interviews from the top business leaders and personal development leaders. Now, here's your host, Nicholas Brown.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special edition here. This is a special because you see this book here, ladies and gentlemen. If you can see this on YouTube, this is a special book here. This book been out for years, which I've been knowing this author at least 25 years. When I got in the military, I got in 93, and it had to be in 95 because at that time I was with one of my roommates that was in the military. I remember walking to the bus stop with this type of book. But let me give you something too. Make sure you guys subscribe. Get this book. I'm gonna give you the link to this, but this is special. I'm gonna try to break this short, but I get so passionate about these episodes, especially this episode. I've been knowing this person here. He's like a mentor to me and others though. But if you listen in, download this link. Also, make sure you download this though. But this is a special author. We're going to focus on this, which I'm going, as I said before, I'm going to push this. I know he'll come back, but we're just going to make this short and simple because I want you guys to come to more episodes. I want you to get the knowledge of this man here. He has so much knowledge where we're going to focus on personal development, leadership, and his expertise on personal development and leadership, especially as an entrepreneur. So that's what I do because I had to write it down here. He's a special development leader and expert. He's also networked and known many influential stars and leaders such as Montel Williams, Stedman Graham, Reverend Ike, prosperity preacher. And then that's way, way back if y'all don't know about this, ladies and gentlemen. As a matter of fact, he'll give you a story on that because he's an attorney also. That's why I said this man here is deep. This is wisdom, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care what age you are, 9 to 90. This book is for you. He got knowledge on there. And the reason why I say he got knowledge on there, his chapters, if you can see on YouTube, I'm going to have it on there. He has 3, 6, 9, 12 chapters, which law of thought, law of change, law of vision, law of command, law of magnetism, law of focus, law of action, law of value, law of relationship. Remember, I've been knowing this man over years. Law of supply, law of persistence, law of truth. What's so strong about this, ladies and gentlemen? You ain't got to believe, but the great test booklet, which is the Bible, on these chapters, like for example, chapter 1, the law of thought. He has Bible verses that you can go through and get your own knowledge with this, ladies and gentlemen. So for example, the first universal law of success is a universal law of thought and manifestation, right? Am I right, Dr. Harris? Okay. Manifestation. Yeah. I'm getting tongue-tied here, but y'all know. So, for example, when you read that chapter, he's going to start you out. So you can use this book and you can use the test booklet to go toward this, to justify this. For as they think it in their hearts, so are they. Proverbs. And if you go to chapter, for example, the next chapter, he's breaking it down, which is Bible verse. So, for example, if I go to chapter 3, the law of vision, where there is no vision, the people perish. And then he explains that because that's where it leads to this special edition, ladies and gentlemen, where, as you know, I like to do three things: motivate, teach, and get a perspective. What the question is for Dr. Harris is, what gets you motivated each day? That's for the motivation, and teach us something, how to develop personal, business, and both. And we want to get your thoughts and perspective. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Dr. Harris. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. It's always my pleasure. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you very clear, very clear. I'm excited.
Excellent.
Yeah. But yeah, can you tell them pretty much the short story of how'd you come across Reverend Ike? That's going to lead to something. I know you was an attorney, right?
Yeah, an attorney and an author. And
One more thing. I forgot. I apologize. And I apologize to this person. Before I bought that book, how did I got to Dr. Harris is the legendary Tony Brown on PBS. That's where I saw this man. Tony Brown was interviewing you, Dr. Harris. So that's
Yes.
I forgot. I apologize, Tony Brown. So that's how I met you from the book. So you was
Yes.
already
Yes.
you was already influential on TV and everything. So go ahead, Dr. Harris.
Yes. Yes. Well, I met Tony after I'd worked for Reverend Ike.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and I worked for Tony for a while too. After the interview, we hooked up and we actually traveled around the country with the Black Expo. If you remember that, we used to go
Wow.
and he'd speak and I'd introduce him, and he'd actually done a film at that time. So yeah, well, the interesting thing, Reverend Ike was a strong influence in my life because he really, it showed me a couple things. One, that you can't believe everything you see and hear. The
Okay.
world had a picture of Reverend Ike as kind of a hustling minister. He was one of the original.
Prosperity though, but he talk
Yeah,
about prosperity is in the Bible, and it tells you how,
exactly.
and
And
he showed you how, but
see, that was the key. You see, in other words, the world projected him one way because of his mailings and whatnot. But when you get to know him, you realize that he was one of the most powerful prosperity teachers that I had ever encountered, number one. And number two, that he was able to take the Bible and give it a life so that
okay,
you could read it. And it wasn't like thou and thee, but it was like me and
right,
you.
right,
And
right.
so that was a great joy. And I met him, very interesting. You never know when the Creator, when God leads you to do things, follow the way.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's
I
right.
had actually been to Israel, and one of
Wow.
my old partners, we were promoting, we had this idea, we wanted to do a gospel concert in Israel, and we wanted to get Shirley Caesar and a lot of the big time gospel singers and have them in Israel singing on the banks of the Jordan River,
Wow.
singing,
That's a
singing.
big vision. That's a
Oh,
big
that was a
vision.
big vision.
Right. Okay.
And so we were promoting it. It's funny, the bigger the vision, the more likely it's going to happen, because when you have a great big vision, it like sucks other people into it. When we told people that vision, they were like, wow, that would be incredible. So
Law of
we met,
magnetism, ladies and gentlemen. Law of magnetism. Law of
that's it.
magnetism. I know it. Get that book. Get that book.
Mhm.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So,
You know me. You know me. Side
yeah,
note, ladies and gentlemen, this is my third book. Cause you know what? When I gave this book out, I can't get it back. I could not get this book back. It's a simple read, but it makes sense though. So I just want to tell y'all this story. But go ahead, Dr. Harris.
yeah.
I know it. I know it. Go ahead.
So,
The
yes,
vision. The
the
vision, right?
vision. So when you have that bigger vision and we share it with other people, people buy into it. So we were traveling around to different churches promoting this concert. And that's when I met Reverend Ike the first time personally. I'd listened to him. My mom had listened, my dad listened to him. He was a big Reverend Ike fan.
Okay.
But when I met him, we asked if we could come to his church and talk about this concert.
Okay.
The interesting thing, Nicholas, how you know you're in the right place. I went to his church, and on a Friday night, he had a Friday service. I'm sitting there in the audience, and he starts talking about that he was traveling with his son, and he saw his book. His son saw a book in the airport for sale and bought it, and that the man who wrote that book is here in the church that night.
Okay.
And I'm just listening. I had no idea. My first book was a book called How to Make Money in Music.
Okay. Because you're a
His
musician
son,
also.
yes, his son was a musician, and his son had bought that book. Reverend Ike liked the book. And so when he said, the author of How to Make Money in Music is here with us tonight, Herbert Harris, he said, would you please stand, Attorney Harris? And when I stood up, a man behind me stood up too. And I
Really?
looked around him. His name was Herbert Harris.
So were you wondering, hey, which
But
one are you
that's,
talking about, me or this other
yeah.
guy? Right. Wow.
And so,
Wow.
but that lets you know when you have those little things like that to confirm that you're in the right place at the right time.
Wow.
See, the universe speaks to you in a very, very subtle way. You have to pay attention. You see, many times God will be talking to you, and you'll be so busy talking, you don't hear what God is saying.
Right.
So when you have those little things, Nicholas, a little thing it doesn't look like a major thing, but it confirms that you made a right decision and that you're at the right place at the right time.
That's awesome.
So
right.
from that point, I was a Reverend Ike follower, man. I'd be there in church every Sunday. And Later on, he actually hired me, and I began to work for him.
Were you in New York then? Cause
Yes, New
are you
York.
from New York? Okay, that's where you grew up in New York.
No, no, I grew up in the South. I grew up in North Carolina,
Oh, really? Okay, okay. But you
and I
met
went to
him.
New
Was
York.
Reverend Ike in New York at that time when you met
Yeah,
him?
he was in New York. He was
Okay,
big already. He
okay,
was big. We're talking the early 80s.
okay, okay.
And when I went to his church, I was just amazed at his teachings, man, because they were a lot in line with what I was teaching.
Right.
I wasn't, I won't say I was teaching. I was in a study phase then. I was practicing law, but I was learning beyond the law practice. I was getting into personal development. I had taken a few courses, and when I heard him, he really connected the Bible with personal development. All the teachers I had before had not made that connection.
So that's a question that's in the book, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you, if you're listening in, download this. If you're watching this, subscribe to this. It's I don't know which chapter it is. It's a chapter that you go through in certain stages of your age, and
The
it's
stages of
where
life,
you
yes,
master. So, can you break that down? And what
sure.
chapter is that? So, what chapter is that?
That's in the introduction. What I wanted to do
In the introduction. Okay,
in
so
the
it's stages of
introduction,
life you go through, ladies and gentlemen. So,
yes.
what's my stage? I've been knowing you for 25 years, almost 25. So, but it
Yeah.
starts at a younger age, where he was talking about. So,
Well, you have four stages of life. You have
okay,
that first stage is that first 20 or 25 years, which is the stage of education.
okay,
And that's when you begin to learn how to think. You learn your value system, the difference between right and wrong.
okay,
You also get that feeling of love or being loved or not being loved. As a child, if you grew up in an environment of criticism, you learn how to respond to negativity. Okay?
mm.
And so those first 4 years are critical because most of the things you learn come from other people.
The
And
first four
so
years or the
the,
four
the first the first 4 years are
as
critical.
as an infant,
Yes,
really, as a child.
because
I
you
didn't know that.
because you're starting to learn. Think about this. The first words you learn are no,
Yeah,
stop,
right.
and don't.
Right, right. I get you. Yeah, yeah. You don't want
And
to
then you
plant
learn shut up.
right, right. You don't want to plant too many negative things in their head. I
There
always
you
talk about
go.
thinking. You want to talk positive,
There we go.
positive vibes. You can do it.
That's
If
it.
not, this is how you can do it. Make it
That's
happen.
right.
So I didn't realize that. So
Yeah.
first 4 years.
Those
Wow.
first 4 years, sometimes 4 to 6 years, but those are really critical years because all of your knowledge then is coming from your parents and the people close to you.
Mm,
And so if they're positive, it's good. If they're negative, it's not good. So if you're raised in an environment where people are critical, where all you hear is shut up, stop, don't do that, don't do this. And you know how when kids are in that inquisitive stage, what they call the terrible twos, when they want to know this, what's that, what's
right,
that.
right.
If you are open and receptive to them and entertain it, so when the kid asks you something, you explain it to them. They learn patience. They learn to try to understand. If they're in an environment where every time the kid asks a question, the parent says, "Shut up, boy, I'm watching TV."
Right,
Okay,
right.
don't ask me that. Or now, Nicholas, one of the frightening things is now parents give the kids a computer or a phone so they can sit there playing with the phone and not bother them.
Yeah,
And so I shudder to think sometimes of the future when these kids grow up, because those first 4 to 6 years are critical. When you learn those basic things, that first cycle, that education, you take those 4 to 6 years with you. And when you go into school, and that's why you normally go to school at 6 years old, because you have learned the basics of
okay.
how to act, how to interact. So the first stage of life is education. You get your basic understanding. The second stage is the stage of sensation.
Sensation. Okay.
Sensation. And that's where you learn about stuff that feels good. That's when you learn about sex and love and drugs and competition, all of those emotional things that get your blood flowing. The
Gotcha.
first time you fall in love, man, you think, oh my God, this is it.
Right.
Okay.
What stage is that? So 20 to 25 is
Yeah,
education. Sensation, what ages are those
But
normally?
so let me break it. The
Okay.
first stage is the first 20 years, the
First
first
20
20
years.
to
First 20
25
years.
years. That's education.
Okay.
The second stage is, let's just say 20 to 40.
Okay. 20 to 40. Okay. 20
And
to
that's
40.
the stage of sensation.
Gotcha.
That's
Gotcha.
where you're out on your own. You
Right.
meet girls, you drink wine, you
Right.
learn all the senses, the things that make you feel good.
As we say back in my day, you smelling yourself.
That's it.
You trying to
Yeah, man.
trying to learn yourself. I know I was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Back in
You're
the
out
day.
there doing it,
Yeah. Doing it, trying to make it happen. Yeah.
And then the third stage is the stage of power.
Ah, that's it.
That's
Stage
it.
of
And see,
power.
the third stage is where you start to make things happen,
Right. Right.
where you start on your future. So like you were in the military, now when you got out of the military, you start moving into your power stage. You want to learn
Right.
more. You
Right.
want to understand how to get things done.
Right.
You want to understand the processes. And
Exactly.
so that third stage is generally 40 to 60.
Okay.
And when
Okay.
you look at most people's success, that's when it all happens. Like I think
Between those.
Barack Obama was in his 40s when he became president.
That's right. Right.
That 40 to 60 is when you finally figure it out.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Right.
then the fourth stage is the stage of immortality, and we're talking 60 to 80,
Okay.
and really 60 until the end of your life. And the stage of immortality is where you really look at what your life stood for. You know,
Okay.
what impact did you have on the world? Who did you help? How did you transform their lives so that they were better people? You see?
That's deep. That's
That's,
deep. That's why, Dr. Harris, I got to get you on the next session. We'll schedule this too because
yeah.
my book talk about retirement. It's not just about money. I talk about financial freedom. So it just freedom depends on your what you choose. You can make 100,000, 10,000, or whatever though. But retirement, most people don't have any those choices. You got choices because you got multiple streams and you got knowledge though. But I want to focus on that. You just made a point from those ages 60 to 80. I love in time to get your input about
Mhm.
what have you faced and what have you pivoted for as
Mhm.
retirement. But you had choices years back, and I'm not mistaken. So, but I want
Oh,
to
yeah.
get that point on there. You just made
Yes.
a point on there as far as retirement. So most people don't
Yes.
have choices, but I believe that you never quit. You always talk about, ladies and gentlemen, go to his Facebook page too. He has like 300 some series about personal development. It's business too, but it's
Mhm.
entrepreneur spirit, but it's about getting up. Am I right, Dr. Harris? If you
Yes,
fall
sir.
down, you get back up.
Yes, it's not how many times you stumble down. It's the number of times you pick yourself up off the ground and keep moving on to meet your goals.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was that stage, and that's the first. That's just the first. He says the first chapter of the book starting out. There's
Yes.
plenty more chapters to go, but that's the purpose of it. So, you pretty much led to the next thing of teaching for personal development. Can you give some tips for us personal development as a business owner or as an entrepreneur? What was your tip? Whatever you can, because
Well,
you're very successful.
well, I'll tell you, Nicholas, entrepreneurship is really personal development in action.
Okay. Okay. Why you say that?
Because your level of success will depend on a number of things, but it depends on your level of personal development.
Okay.
So now think about this. If you're in business and you're not organized,
Mm.
okay, if you don't understand like the laws of success, in business, it requires you to know what you want. So the law of thought.
Okay.
In business, it requires that you have a business plan, which means you have to have goals, the law of vision.
Okay.
And when the Bible says, write the vision, make it plain upon tablets that he may run that readeth it. In other words, you got to write it down so you can make a plan to go get it.
That's right. Right. Right.
And so as you're in business, anything that you have not mastered, so if you don't have your goals clear, you go and become an entrepreneur, you don't know who to sell and what to sell them to. Okay. If you don't have your discipline, like the law of discipline, if you're employed by yourself and the first thing you do is give yourself a day off.
You really don't need to be in business. You're not this.
There you
Right,
go.
right. You got a long way ahead of you. If
Got a
you
long way to go. So
yeah, this is not for
so
you.
all of that personal development is integrated in with your business. You have your thoughts, like the law of change. When you're in business, things are always changing. And so
Okay.
the law of change says, be not conformed to this world. You don't have to stay stuck in your particular situation. You can transform your life by changing your thinking. So if you're in business and certain things happen, you say, well, look, I got to change my thinking. This is not what I need to be selling now. This is not the process I need to be following.
Right.
And so your success really, that's why I say it's personal development in action, because all the things that are necessary to make you a good person are also necessary to make you a good entrepreneur.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're gonna kind of cut this short. I want to get your perspective or your thoughts. What's your perspective on today's, let's just say, business or business methods, or give us a perspective of what you're coming across. What's your perspective on today,
Well,
especially in
one thing
business and
yeah,
personal development? Because you say the kids now they don't go out. I used to go outside and play or whatever, or book. Now that you say the parents give a cell phone or they go watch a game or whatever. What's your perspective and your thoughts?
well, the danger is as we're going forward, business has become more and more impersonal. That,
Okay.
in other words, once you start setting up institutions, then you take the personal out of the equation. So in the old days, when you worked for a company, the boss knew you, you knew the boss.
Okay. Right.
If you, like, one of my friends said, you just had a baby, and the boss might say, Nicholas, you need a raise, man. You got a family, you got another
Okay.
mouth to feed.
Right. Okay.
Now, in the business world, it's so impersonal. Even if I cared about you having a baby, I can't do anything about it because I'm embodied in the structure. I only have the power to sign your time card and put it where it's supposed to be.
Gotcha.
And so business is becoming more impersonal. So it's
Okay.
taking the equation out.
Okay.
Number two, expertise is always critical. And so business now tries to make everything ordinary, because when you have expertise, you get more money.
That's right. Right.
And so
Right.
the companies will have a person who has a great talent. There was a fella, Michael Jordan's father. Michael Jordan grew up in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay.
And his father, I think, worked for Corning. And his father, the day his father was killed, he had come to the funeral of a man who worked for Corning. And this man, whatever he did, his skill level was so high that they needed him. They had to fly him from California to Wilmington. They moved him and his family. They bought him a big house. And so that type of skill and expertise is rewarded at that time. Now, the whole approach is to take a job like his and break it down into little pieces so it can be done by people who don't have that same skill level. Yeah.
Right. Right.
And so
Right.
it's taken a lot of the creativity out of it.
Okay. Okay.
The
But that's another episode that I want to continue that thought, because the world is so fast now too, Dr. Harris too, but I love to continue on that because that's deep. That deserves another talk on there, but because I always say you either roll or you're gonna get rolled over. But I love experience. You got these microwave experts, I call it. They can't add 2 + 2. You know what I mean? But that exposure, you got to be careful of what y'all see in front of you, ladies and gentlemen. Am I right, Dr. Harris? You want,
exposure is key.
yeah, it's key though. But I'm old school like you. I'm gonna ask questions. I want to show me what's in your head. I don't care about your fancy stuff.
Yeah.
I want to see, can you actually build that house, or can you actually get me to this next level? But you're deep on that. Me and you. That's why I said, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna continue this, but I'm gonna break this down. Dr. Harris, tell them how can they get a hold of you until we reach next time.
Absolutely. Well, of course, our website is herbertharris.com,
Okay.
herbertharris.com, and our email is herbert@herbertharris.com. I try to keep it all real simple.
Okay. Okay.
Herbert@herbertharris.com.
Herbertharris.com. Dr. Harris, any last words before we end this podcast, this special podcast?
Well, let me say this. It's important what you're doing because teachers are always critical. In the Greek culture, Aristotle, Plato, young men came from all over the world to study and learn from them. And so what you're doing right now, especially through the internet, you're going to impact the lives of many young people, many people like yourself coming out of the service, right. Many people who are making the transition from whatever they were doing to the next point in their lives. And so what you're doing is important.
Thank
and
you.
Always keep our minds open. Whatever we see, we can be.
That's
and
right.
So the more that we can see, the more that we can be. The more that we can see depends on how much we can learn, how much we can be exposed to, and most of all, the great people that you meet.
Thank you, Dr. Harris, because they can never take that from us. It's in our head. So I never worry about losing because it's in my head. That game, man, you motivate me. I'm going to see you again, Dr. Harris.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much.
But ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching on YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure if you're listening to it, make sure you guys download this. So, as I said before, don't condemn, don't complain, because you have a choice for making a change. Have a great day.
For joining us on the Nicholas Brown Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, www.nickbrowninc.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like this show and you are a new real estate investor, then check out one of Nicholas's free reports called the Wholesale Dominator Report, also located on our website, www.nickbrowninc.com/free reports. Be sure to tune in for our next episode. And remember, don't condemn, don't complain, because you have a choice to make a change. Have a great day.